A gray heavy truck had not yet come to a full stop when nearly 10 small three-wheelers behind it rushed forward. Women wearing headscarves jumped off the small vehicles, baskets and shovels in hand, scrambling to climb onto the truck. The scene resembled predators in the African savanna pouncing on a lone prey. The person who uploaded the video said these were farmers in China fighting to grab the coal left over after a coal transport truck unloaded at a power plant. Another TikToker posted a video showing their truck overturning on the highway, spilling 20 tons of apples on the ground. Villagers rushed over and the truck owner initially thought they would help, but to his surprise, the villagers started fighting over the apples right on the spot. The truck owner pleaded with the villagers to leave him some, saying to one villager carrying a full bag of apples, "This isn't right, sister," and to another, "Please, sir, show some mercy," but the villagers paid no attention. The truck owner explained that the situation worsened when more villagers arrived. Some made phone calls to bring their relatives and friends, and soon the crowd grew larger. What was even more terrifying was that the villagers brought baskets, small carts, and even tractors to carry the apples home. Several drivers, crying as they recounted the experience, said they were shocked and completely overwhelmed. The villagers only cared about the apples, acting as though they had gone mad. In the end, the truck owner said only about 2 tons of apples were left, as they could not stop the villagers from taking the rest. In another incident, a truck's rear door was not properly closed, causing bags of garlic to spill onto the ground. Villagers picked up entire bags, with some even sitting on the ground to sort through the garlic, choosing only the best. The truck owner, in tears, filming the scene with his phone, expressing his frustration over his misfortune. However, there was a bright moment in the video, as a young boy used all his strength to throw a whole bag of garlic back onto the truck. Viewers expressed their admiration, saying they were touched by the child, seeing him as a symbol of hope and the future. Some viewers said that the purpose of uploading these videos was not to mock or ridicule people in China, but to show the reality of life there. They wanted others to understand the extreme poverty of those at the bottom of Chinese society, which far exceeds what people imagine. This is not like the glorified image of China promoted by the Chinese Communist Party's online supporters. Others commented that many people in China are morally corrupt, but they are victims of years of indoctrination by the CCP, which has distorted their values and moral standards. The worst, they said, are those who pretend to be ignorant, such as the staunch supporters of the CCP, both inside and outside of China, and even prisoners serving time in Chinese jails as part of the government's online propaganda teams. They know the truth but lie for the CCP, making them the most shameless of all. A user uploaded a video showing an elm tree being felled, and the seeds of the elm, called elm money, were being fought over by women. Some viewers said they did not understand the point of fighting for such seeds. Others commented that these women do not need to be given seats on the bus because no one could beat them in a fight for one. In many places in China, everything is about fighting to grab what you can. This was seen after last year's flood, where local people grabbed anything they could find, even sick or dead chickens. One user remarked that no matter how hungry you are, you should have some sense of reason. These diseased chickens are absolutely not fit to eat. In the video from Jiangsu, crops were still being harvested when a group of farmers rushed into the field to take them. Despite the owner's attempts to stop them, the man could only use a fire extinguisher to spray the villagers, but the foam was gone in seconds. The villagers calmly continued helping with the harvest. After a shopping mall in Hangzhou, a giant Christmas tree made of vegetables and fruits caught everyone's attention. The event hadn't even ended yet when elderly people couldn't hold back and started fighting for the produce. Some carried large bags, others held big boxes. In no time, the floor was cleared, leaving only slimy vegetables and fruit juices behind. In another incident, a truck overturned, and the driver's misfortune became worse. The truck was carrying zongzi, and within moments, 30 to 40 villagers rushed over, fighting for the food in the mud. Some of them, covered in dirt, were still in high spirits. The truck owner, the driver, and even the police stood silently on the slope, watching as the villagers continued their scramble. At a local market, a vegetable stall owner faced a group of elderly people fighting over seedlings. The situation escalated into organized chaos. The person who filmed the video said they heard someone in the crowd shout, "Let's grab the vegetables," and immediately the elderly began grabbing everything in sight. The stall owner couldn't stop them as the crowd surrounded the stall. Some claimed they intended to buy, but then didn't pay. One user commented that this seems to be a coordinated effort, just a single command, and everyone starts grabbing. This is what is called chaotic grabbing. When there are enough people, their courage grows, and with a simple instruction, they feel empowered to take what they want. Another person asked why it's always elderly people. The response was that they were once Red Guards, the group most deeply influenced by the CCP indoctrination. This same group now includes the elderly Little Reds and online supporters of the CCP. One user shyly admitted, "I saw my aunt." Another user said such behavior has become very common in China, and many people no longer understand normal social order. These habits of fighting and not feeling ashamed may be harming children the most, including their own. One user bravely shared a similar experience, saying, "My dad is hilarious. It's funny, when he was buying lotus roots, he saw that the area was nearly empty, so he yelled, 'Hurry, grab it.' Several aunties swarmed in, and within moments, the lotus roots were gone. One woman couldn't outdo my dad, so she grabbed the whole bag." A commenter responded, "Your dad truly understands the essence of grabbing when there are many people." Unfortunately, even that wasn't enough to beat the aunties. Another user said, "I hope your dad doesn't teach others such dirty habits. Society is already bad enough." A user shared an awkward situation they witnessed in a rural village in China. While young people were enjoying a banquet, elderly women began taking the food before they could even eat. Whole fish and dishes were dumped into bags, leaving the young person stunned. Eventually, the only thing they could do was to take a soup and drink it outside. In the comments, some users expressed anger, saying, "This is robbery. Was the host trying to upset the guests?" One person said a relative took food from their own table and then went to grab from others. They commented, "It's so shameless." Another user uploaded a video of an experience at a wedding banquet in rural Anhui. In the video, an elderly woman and a man fought over a plate of leftovers. When the woman saw she couldn't outdo the man, she flipped the plate, spilling the food onto the table. The man, distressed, tried to grab the food, but the woman swept it all onto the ground, saying, "If I can't get it, neither can you." A user familiar with the situation explained that the elderly woman was at the banquet while the man was a beggar. They commented, "What's the harm in giving him some food? Does it really matter if he eats one bite?" Another user recalled a similar experience at a friend's full-month banquet in Henan. "We were at a table with friends and colleagues, all in our 20s. We picked up some food, and before we could take a second bite, her colleagues had already packed it up and taken it away." One user noted that many elderly women fight for things just to satisfy an inexplicable urge. As long as they can get something for free, they're happy. It's a kind of sickness, poverty sickness. A video shared by a user showed a scene from one of China's poorest regions, Liangshan, Sichuan, where people fought for supplies at a charity distribution event. Only 2 children stood in line quietly, unsure if they would receive anything. In the comments, one user expressed anger over the shameless behavior in front of children, saying, "This is the greatest harm to children. Growing up with this kind of negative example, what kind of adults will they become?" They added that these children will likely grow up believing that those who don't fight for things are fools, and that their fate would lead them to prisons or to the lowest rungs of society. They further explained that many areas in China are much poorer than people realize, and that places like Liangshan are extreme examples of poverty. In September 2024, a popular female influencer visited Liangshan, Sichuan, and saw children wearing tattered clothes. She provided them with new clothes and blankets, but their homes didn't even have a clean place to put them. She said, "The first day I arrived in Daliang Mountain, I reported to the village head because I realized that after a year of supporting these children, nothing had improved. They were still dressed like beggars, and when I asked if they liked school, they said they wanted to drop out. This made me feel extremely discouraged." She found that the village head showed no interest in the children's welfare. When she tried to cook for them, she discovered their homes only had potatoes for food. Despite encouraging the children to study, they believed that working as soon as possible, alongside older siblings, was the only way out. The village head explained that most of the children were orphans or left behind children whose parents have gone to work in the big cities. After school, they had to work in the fields and cook for themselves. The village had severe shortages of supplies, and all he could do was ensure the children grew up safely. The influencer said the saddest part was these children lacked basic respect and character. It wasn't that they didn't need it, they simply didn't understand it. The Chinese Red Cross and the Poverty Alleviation Foundation spent $300 million to provide nutritional aid to 1 million children in Myanmar. At the same time, they're providing free nutritious breakfasts and lunches to elementary school children in Ethiopia, Uganda, Namibia, Mongolia, and 5 other countries. They say this will boost China's international influence and earn the respect of the international community. The user continued, the Chinese government claims to help these countries reach the goals of zero hunger, calling it the responsibility of a great nation. Do children in poor mountain areas like Yunnan, Guizhou, and Sichuan receive this kind of treatment? Have they been given free nutritious breakfasts and lunches? Have these children already achieved zero hunger? If not, then why spend over 2 billion yuan to feed children in other countries, while allowing our own children to go hungry? He said that if China really has reached such a level of wealth, to the point where it doesn't know how to spend all its money, then of course it can help. Don't just talk about 7 countries. If we need to help 70, we should. After all, Chinese people are kind-hearted. He added that if he were still hungry and struggling to make ends meet, spending such large sums of money to aid children in other countries would just be a case of trying to appear more prosperous than they actually are. He pointed out that the money from the Chinese Red Cross and the China Foundation for Poverty Alleviation isn't theirs to spend. It's money donated by ordinary citizens and the public. This money isn't meant to be spent like this. Furthermore, while China is somewhat better off than before, with slightly more wealthy people now, it is still far from being a true global power. Let's now take a look at Chinese officials. Let's see who can build more roads, railways, and bridges for developing countries on the international stage. Who can build more schools, hospitals, and sports centers for the people in low-income countries? We're confident that we have the strength to do it. In the comment section, users sarcastically remark, let's compare internationally and see who is more shameless, who can abuse their own people more. Let's compare who is more corrupt, more greedy, and more evil. Another commenter said, the CCP has a unique skill. They're not ashamed. They actually take pride in it. And with that, they're unbeatable. One user revealed that China's population is declining, and the country is seriously short on labor and workers. In response, the authorities have introduced various childcare policies to encourage people to have more children. However, people in Henan are complaining that they receive no subsidies after having children. A mother of 3 called the authorities responsible for childcare subsidies, the National Health and Family Planning Commission, and asked, hello, I'd like to ask, didn't the central government issue a document saying that childcare subsidies will be given this year? When will subsidies be given to Zhenzhou for first, second, and third children? The official replied, how many children do you have? 3? There's no subsidies in Zhenzhou yet. The detailed rules for this policy haven't been announced. The mother responded, but we've had this document since September 1st, 2023, so why has it taken so long and we still haven't received anything? The official answered, we need to wait for the government's notice. However, after checking, the mother found that Zhenzhou had already issued a document on September 1st, 2023, outlining fertility incentives. The reward for having 1 child was 2,000 yuan. For 2 children, it was 5,000 yuan, and for 3 children, 15,000 yuan. Over a year later, many people still hadn't received their subsidies. One user commented, from the current situation, it looks like the rewards and subsidies promised by Zhenzhou are just empty promises. Since September 2023, more than a year has passed, and the details still haven't been decided or implemented, so it's just an empty document. In the end, it's a government trick to encourage people to have more children while deceiving them. He explained that the delay in issuing the subsidies is linked to local financial difficulties. According to data from the Henan Provincial Finance Department, Henan's general public budget revenue for 2024 is around 439.9 billion yuan, while general public budget expenditures are about 1.1 trillion yuan, resulting in a fiscal deficit exceeding 700 billion yuan. The budget report for 2025 shows projected revenue of 457.5 billion yuan and expenditures of 1.1 trillion yuan, with a deficit of over 600 billion yuan. He said that with such heavy fiscal pressure, the government must first ensure that public servants receive their basic salaries, which means that subsidies for people's livelihoods are difficult to achieve. The Chinese government is unable to fund its own birth incentives, which contrasts sharply with the actions of the Chinese foreign minister officials on the international stage. In the end, one user commented, "The funniest part is how the CCP's propaganda machine has always opposed Western civilization and mocked war-torn regions like the Middle East and Africa. The so-called 50-cent army and little pinks keep mindlessly repeating the CCP's brainwashing theory, saying that without the Communist Party, China would become like Syria or Somalia." Observers note that the current situation in China has drawn comparisons to global refugee crises, such as those in Syria and Somalia, regions affected by prolonged conflict. Critics argue that while China has not experienced war, and the Chinese Communist Party frequently asserts that China is currently one of the safest and most economically powerful nations, growing signs of social and economic distress are evident. Some commentators suggest that long-term political control and state propaganda have contributed to a population increasingly focused on self-preservation rather than broader societal awareness. These perspectives raise concerns about the extent of public understanding and question whether the CCP's prolonged rule has contributed to the country's deepening challenges.